WWDC 26 just finished earlier today, and I have some thoughts for you because this was one of the most lackluster events ever, and it's not really anyone's fault more than Apple's. I am a huge Apple fan, by the way, so before this comes off as a Apple hater, I want to be honest. This event was what they announced 2 years ago and what they showed us and previewed. But when the reality came down to it, what they gave us was today a final, actual, real feel for Apple Intelligence that they couldn't actually develop until they built a partnership with Google, which was just announced about 3 months ago. Maybe it started a few months before that and it was under wraps for a bit, maybe a year before that, I don't know. But it seems like this is all very new and they finally picked up on it. What's a bit frustrating too, and we'll cover some of the details here, is that Apple made it seem so revolutionary when they're the only ones who have access to the data on the devices. So where other tools aren't allowed to go, for example, into your messages, Apple is, and they're releasing products that probably are safer than other tools. I'll give them that. The privacy layer is probably the best in the entire world. I'll give them that. But at the same time, it's not that fancy. The presentation today, my guy, I don't even know what they show here. Let me just go back to the Apple homepage and look at the keynote. Let me pull this up. Keynote's cool, but I really like this guy. I love his presentation, but at the same time, it was so basic. There was a part of it where he's here on the laptop and he's even saying like, oh, and Siri could even pick up if I have spelling errors. Anyone who has used AI knows that that's how it works. Like you can do that all day long. And so it's a little bit of a bummer in terms of this entire experience just being released now as like this revolutionary thing. And the funniest part is actually for this demo right here, what he's showing on my screen is that it's so funny. These 3 files, he's like, oh, well, we need to compare and contrast what's on the files. And so, man, with Siri AI, you can now do that. If you go back to the Google event just about 2 or 3 weeks ago, that's what they released with, I think it was Gemini Spark. You just select the files and you could have Gemini Spark go do that. Literally the same presentation. I should probably pull it up. Let me do it. Gemini Spark. All right, let me actually show you this because I was actually at another event the next day at Google's headquarters, Google Marketing Live, and this gentleman did a talk there, which was awesome, and he's a really cool guy. I forget his name. Sean, I believe, maybe? But take a look here. Let me mute this. He's saying, hey, well, if you have this situation where you have these multiple PDFs and you have some information on them, well, you could just select all 4 of them and then say, hey, it sees everything on your screen and I want you to do X, Y, and Z. And then from there, look, you'll hear him, you'll see him speak at the bottom right here. He's like speaking to this. And then from there, it's going to compose an email with a table. Watch. Literally, this is the exact same thing a month ago, and this table is here. Look at him smiling. Everyone's clapping. It's a great discovery. It's like awesome. It's really cool. But that's the same exact drop right here that my guy is doing. It's just so funny, man. Let me give you the highlights. I'm like jumping ahead of myself. Okay, so they released Siri AI, which is Siri Apple Intelligence, with 2 models, basically. I forget where they mentioned these models, but there's this foundational Apple model and a foundational Google model that are built together to launch this infrastructure, whatever you want to call it, which is quite interesting because I'm very, very interested to see how the data actually runs in this entire experience. And as you can see, your data is not stored. They're very specific here in terms of the user experience overall. And yeah, it's just so funny. Right with Siri. Amazing. Siri is honestly still lackluster in my opinion. What he does here is he's speaking to it. Take a look. This is like, oh, whoa, look at the new experience. Beautiful. But it comes up with an answer. And then first of all, it's not saying it to you. It just shows up on your screen like this. And then you got to be like, right, well, that's not enough. I need a little bit more information. Help me figure it out. It's lackluster, man. I love Apple, dude. This was just like not it. There are a few things that were really cool, but this was just like, okay. So this can work. The best part is that it's able to like gather information from across all your apps and all your core Apple functions like messages, seems like email, reminders, things like that. And so that's where it does bring life into it. If you notice at the bottom here, he has a Siri, that's the new icon for the Siri app. All right, let's go further. So some image, new updates with images, child safety. Okay, here we go. Here's some cool stuff. All right. So first of all, I know it's so funny how they work. Okay, first of all, define refinements. You can now, there's a slider now that helps you define how iOS, like how much liquid glass is showing up. And so this is a big deal because this is like really an annoying part of liquid glass for a lot of people. This part here, you can see through it a bit. It looks good, but at certain parts, it's hard to read. So what they did was they built this slider. This slider is the revolutionary, transformative thing that they released. When Apple is their main highlight is a slider at the beginning of a keynote, you know there's problems. You know there's some issues going on. It's a great feature, don't get me wrong, but it's like we literally went back and they're claiming like it's a revolution. Watch this. Look at the header at the top here. It's so busy. It's all these like little bubbles. They're like, now we're gonna put a bar behind it. We freaking had that before, my dude. Literally before liquid glass, we had that. Why is this revolutionary? It's not. Don't sit here and claim it. Now, this used to float. The bar on the side used to float. Now, it doesn't float. What did we have a year ago? It's so ridiculous, dude. It's just so funny because they call these design improvements. And you could say that if you have a very narrow view of just the last 12 months, but the internet operated this way before. And then they finally brought this rounded corner to be equal across all edges. So now all edges across all apps are gonna have the exact same rounded corner. They heard our ask, man, which is just so funny. But when these are the highlights of a keynote about a software development keynote, these are like, they're cool details, don't get me twisted, but they're not revolutionary. They updated the apps, some stuff like that. One of the bigger updates was that apps are now going to be like 30% faster in like load time, which is awesome. I thought that was a really cool update. What else do they have here? Okay, some other things that I want to cover personally that I think are great is this right here. I think she's about to touch on. There's some security stuff, Safari, how you work in Safari, that's great. I like that feature. You could see it here. It's like if there's something that could be related to like add to reminders or notes, it will prompt it in the text thread. Now that's a great update. It makes the entire experience way easier, especially if you have like a group chat of a bunch of things happening. It could really make your conversation just much easier overall. Let's go a little bit further. The other one was going to be shortcuts. Let's see, what is this? Here we go. So now with shortcuts, you could just describe what you want. And so I think her example here is like, if I'm coming home, notify like spouse that I'll be coming home and go from there. Let me see, I think I just missed it. Here we go. Yeah, I just missed it. All right. This is cool. Describe in calendar. So coffee catch up with Elena. Take a look here. You'll see it'll just start to update the information and add the location and other details. Then later on, if you do need to update it further, if it's a weekly meeting and you want to change it to bi-weekly, you could do that as well. And it'll actually read that. So you'll see here, it says every week, every other week, and boom, the actual repeat sequence changes as well. That is really, that's like intuitive. It's making the whole experience more intuitive with the AI side, the intelligence of it, which is great. This is one of my favorite things here. So say you're on the phone with an airline and out of nowhere, you need your like a confirmation number or something. Well, it's already going to pull all that information for you while it knows that you're on the call with them, and you'll see it will put it here on the screen. So this is like your phone call screen, and it's pulling and surfacing all this relevant information for you. Amazing. That's really good stuff there. I'm curious how that's actually going to work in practice outside of an airline, but that's a really amazing feature. Okay, let's get to shortcuts. I think shortcuts are going to be really important. I am doing this on silent just so you could hear me. She chats and I'm trying to fill you in on what's happening. it is getting more intelligent in the ability to grab different shots, see what's happening. Robert arrived with a fruit bowl. You can see that here. And it's showing it throughout different shots, and it's able to summarize what it's seeing across all of that, which is really interesting. And then I love that they did that right there. That's funny. Okay, cool. Shortcuts. Here we go. All of these are options for you. But now to create one of these, you'll have to create all these steps. And that's a lot of work. But what if it could do it for you? Now you can just go in and describe exactly what you want, and it will create that shortcut for you. And then from there, if you need to edit it further, you could do that as well just by describing it. This is powerful AI because shortcuts are a great feature that most people don't use, and it will probably blow up more if people know that they could do this with it. So when Pedro leaves, say I'm on the way, boom, and send my ETA. So then it'll go into maps, see the time with traffic, send it to the spouse, boom, good to go. Amazing. And then they have some other updates on images and like setting up other images and things. Nothing crazy, I think, in terms of anything else worth mentioning. All of these are just general updates. iOS 27 is now named, I should have said this at the beginning, iOS 27 is now going to be named Golden Gate, I believe. And then this was the most important part. This was Tim Cook's final WWDC 26 and probably the highlight of the event. And what makes everything I just said not invalid, but kind of irrelevant, more irrelevant. This is his last event, and this man has put has taken Apple from what it was 20 years ago, 15, 20 years ago, to what it is today, which is just wild to think about. All the devices we're looking at today are under the leadership of Mr. Tim Cook. And so thank you, Tim Cook, for everything you've done. Literally everyone's lives have been revolutionized by in such an amazing way. I use the tech everywhere and super grateful. So that is a roundup of WWDC. If you want to see more, this page has some more information on details overall, but generally the developments are basic, but what they're going towards is probably going to be a massive. My assumption is we're going to go into September and see some of the biggest hardware updates. Why? Because that's where Apple is crushing it, and they need to crush it there to still be part of this like race around AI. And they're doing a great job so far. The M5 is fabulous. Let's get it into a Mac Studio. Let's update everything. Let's like take this whole hardware game to the next level so that we could run better and better models on every single device. Anyway, that's all for today. Thanks for watching. Subscribe if you haven't. I'll see you in the next one. Peace.